Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Josh, and you're locked in with the Success Gang podcast. This is episode 2, and we have another special guest. I've been very blessed to get these people that really have a platform in life, and they really can speak on things that help get us to success, especially my young people. So without further ado, Chris Massey.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So today we'll just start with where are you from, brother?
I'm from a small town in eastern Kanawha County called Chesapeake, West Virginia.
Okay, shout out Chesapeake. And what high school is that out there?
Well, when I was there, it was East Bank High School, and now that East Bank and DuPont consolidated, it's Riverside.
Yes, sir. Okay, and what was it like, coming up over there? Was it pretty chill? Is it a type country type town, or is it a city?
We're country. We we're from the coal fields, and kids up there, we like to hunt and fish, ride 4-wheelers, and sir. Growing up in my era, football was key.
Yeah.
East Bank had a traditional good football program. My brother won 2 state championships in 89, 90. I was fortunate enough to win one in 96. East Bank won one in 93. So, it was definitely a football community, and, you grew up playing since you were 5 years old.
Yeah.
And, once you got to high school and you put on the blue and white, it was, almost like you was playing for the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
So.
Yes, sir. So then when you was in East Bank, you had a championship success. What colleges were looking at you when you were coming out?
All the WVIAC schools in the state. I was getting some looks at some of the other MAC schools, Bowling Green, Ohio, Kent, and Toledo, and I'm like, who are these?
Right.
I didn't know anything about the MAC, know, and I was, 2-time All-State and, All-American in high school. You as a young kid and a teenager, you think you're going to go to one of the Power 5 schools, and that was hopefully your goal. And that didn't happen for me.
Right.
And I don't know if I started late in the game in recruiting, or went about the wrong way, or if I just wasn't good enough, honestly. So I kind of stubbed my nose in some of those, lower window-based schools and some of the lower end MAC schools and stuff like that coming out of high school. And, my ultimate goal was, to play for a big program. And so when that didn't happen, I was stuck without a place to go.
Right.
I still had baseball season coming up. I was pretty good in baseball. I had some offers in baseball to go.
Wow.
I didn't really want to play baseball in college just because it wasn't my first love. And, Coach Kyle Bailey, he's a well-known, known baseball coach from West Virginia State, Hall of Fame coach, who's passed away a few years ago. He was recruiting me, and he had worked out a deal to where I could, was going to offer me to come to state to play both.
Wow.
Football and baseball.
Yeah.
For free. And get my school paid for and this, that, and the other. And, I just sat down and had a really good conversation with my family, and, I didn't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Something was burning inside of me for the reason why I didn't get recruited.
Mm-hmm.
And so I chose to walk on at Marshall's first year as a Division I program in 97, just to see what it was about and see why I didn't get recruited, to see if they were really that much better than I was.
Right.
So most of the kids in West Virginia, we play with a chip on our shoulder, no matter what sport it is, just because, of the social status that we get as athletes in West Virginia. So I ended up walking
Definitely
on.
not enough respect. Yeah.
Not enough respect.
Yeah.
So I ended up walking on. I didn't even get invited to training camp. I wasn't invited to walk on, so I had to wait till school started. So I didn't join the team until the week of the West Virginia game.
Okay.
So, obviously coaches and and the departments and stuff like that, they're really not focusing on walk-ons, so to speak. So, I was just another number, another scout team player. I remember my locker number was number 115, and I was like the fourth 45 on the team or something like that. And, so we had this thing. They don't do it anymore just because, the sport's got a little softer since when I played.
It got soft, guys.
We used to have this thing, Coach Pruitt, we used to have, all the walk-ons and the guys that were redshirted that wasn't really, playing on Saturdays. We would have Monday Night Football. So that was our live, contact.
Right.
And so, I didn't know anybody. I didn't know the defenses. I didn't get to know any of the coaches. I knew some of the players just because, some of them were from West Virginia, so I knew some of them. So when the linebacker coach put me in, for the scrimmage, and hell, I didn't know any of the calls. I was just out there making plays.
Right.
So I ended up having 8 tackles in my first scrimmage game, and ended up breaking my hand. So I was shelved for the rest of the year in '97. So I was like, God Almighty, man! They're throwing dirt on me already. This ain't gonna work out. Just so I was really thinking about, just because of the way the circumstances were, and I was like, man, I'm never gonna get an opportunity. Now that I broke my hand, I'm even further down on the list, and I decided to go through off-season program. And go through spring ball and see. I had a lot of respect from some of the guys just because I was really good in the weight room. I was really strong in the weight room. So that was one of the first acknowledgments that I got from our strength coach and some of our players. So I started getting a little bit of recognition just because of how hard I worked in the weight room and how strong I was. And that was always a big thing back in East Bank. We were grinders in the weight room.
For sure.
My sophomore, I was benching 430, as a 18, 19-year-old kid,
Right.
So I went through spring ball, and the first 2 weeks, I'd go through the individual drills, and I wasn't getting any play. Mm-hmm. And in some of the scrimmages and 9-on-7 and things like that. And so I go to the linebacker coach, Coach Kelly, and I was like, Coach, man, I'd like to get some reps. And he I'll never forget the look he had on his face. And he said, well, Chris, he said, man, I'm just going to be honest with you. We got Eddie Smolder coming in. We got Max Yates coming in. We got Duran Smith coming in, and he went on down the line. Right. All these guys that's coming in the fall.
Basically every reason why you couldn't. Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, he has zero respect for me. I have zero chances of even sniffing the field. Yeah. So after that conversation, my whole goal was to get on the field. It wasn't to earn a scholarship. That would have been nice. But my first goal was to get on the field as a Division I football player.
Right.
That was my goal coming out of high school, and so I was going to exhaust all avenues.
Yeah.
So I did this little thing called long snapping.
Yeah.
Since 9th grade, and no one ever taught me how to do it. It was just something that God blessed me with.
Right.
And I could do it. Mm-hmm. So I would do it some on the sides, down there, with the guys, and some of the guys said, man, you're pretty good. You got to try that.
All right.
So they had a senior who was a starter, and he was gone. And they had one guy, a freshman, that they brought in. And then they recruited a kid out of Cabot Midland. His name's Corey Dennison. We gave him a full scholarship, but he wasn't coming in until the fall. Mm-hmm. So I went to the special teams coach halfway through spring ball, and I said, hey, I want to switch over. Yeah. I can snap. Mm-hmm. So the last 2 weeks of spring ball, I finished number 1 on the depth chart for long snaps on the punt team. And then Jake Sims, the other kid, he was bigger. He was like 6'4", like 220.
Right.
And he was doing the field goal snaps and the short snaps. And, I felt like I was better than him anyways,
Right.
So, anyways, I got invited back to summer camp, when everybody else reports, to compete for that job. Mm-hmm. And we had a punter, his name was Chris Hansen at the time, and he went on to play 10 years in the league for the Browns, Jaguars, Patriots, and Saints. And, we had worked, and, we'd worked really good together. And so I end up winning the job in 98. So Jake and Corey both had scholarships. I ended up winning the job, and I was going to be the long snapper, and Jake was going to be the short snapper. And the first game, I think we were playing, I want to say Troy, I'm not sure. But Jake kind of threw one back there, and it kind of skipped or was real low or whatever. And Coach Pruitt came over to me, and I didn't even know Coach even knew my name. Right. He said, "Massey, can you short snap?" I said, "Yeah, I can short snap." I can do it, but I never really did it I never really did it in like the scrimmages. Mm-hmm. I'd always do it when we was warming up and stuff like that, but I never did it in any of the live stuff.
Right.
Which was, So I went in and did it, and, it was perfect snaps. And so I ended up doing both in 98.
Right.
And I was paying my way through school. My family, my dad was a truck driver. My mom, she was a secretary for the state. So, financially, wouldn't be able to afford staying down there for, 4 or 5 years. So I really only gave myself 2 years. Yeah. And I'd have to leave. I'd have to transfer.
And you're probably right in that point where they can only do so much faster because both your parents work. So it's like nothing was free.
Yeah.
Like I had to work for everything,
And, back then there was no NIL money or anything.
Right, exactly. So,
that. So I ended up winning the job, and there was 2 guys on full scholarship sitting, and I'm playing at South Carolina in Game 3 in front of 85,000 fans with a game-winning field goal on line.
Yeah,
and I'm paying my way through school.
Yeah,
and they're sitting. So, I had a really good year in 98, and I finished out, and then Jake transferred, and they ended up putting me on scholarship in 99.
Yeah.
So when I talk to young kids, I don't know where the entitlement comes. Yeah. This day and age,
it's coming. It's here.
They think that if they're not a quarterback or if they're not a running back, that they just don't want to play, or they'll take their ball and go home, which is, in my opinion, it's soft.
It's soft. It's soft.
So when I talk to I do motivational speaking throughout the state. So when I tell the story, I was like, when I went to Marshall, I was number 115. Mm-hmm. When I left Marshall, I was a team captain. I was a special teams MVP. I had 2 degrees. I met my wife at Marshall, and I was a 7th round draft pick of the St. Louis Rams.
Yeah. Oh, well, hold on. I don't want to let you go too far. Hold on, because that's what we probably we about to go there. So I asked you this question. You talked about it in East Bank. Now, if I'm thinking right, that's the area where is Randy, Jason Williams, and what's the Bobby Howard? All of them from kind of like that area, right?
Yeah, we're all from Eastern Kanawha County. There's across the river. They're all DuPont guys.
Okay.
So it would be me and Jerry West from the East Bank side, and Claude Geiger's another guy that played in the early '70s that went on and played Michigan State. And Marshall, he was a good running back, and just a lot of talent.
Yeah,
a lot of players up in the eastern end of Kanawha County in that area.
So was it just you just never knew nothing but football, or what was that first fascination with it? Like, did you see somebody playing it, or was Pops always had the ball in your hand? What was that first moment you like, dang, like this is it. This is what I've been waiting for. You know what I mean?
I got an older brother who's 6 years older than me, and so I just always grew up watching him. Yeah, going to the football fields, and It just wasn't any doubt that,
Yeah.
we're a football family,
Right.
and pretty much a baseball family. My dad didn't get to play football in high school because of a knee injury, but he ended up playing, baseball, and but just never any doubt up in that area. In that time,
Yeah.
you were playing football.
Play football, yeah. And like you say, it's no better thing than to have a big brother like that, because like I tell these kids so much now, and there's not too many. They're not cut like you no more, Chris. Because now they swear that they need a trainer that costs $300 a week. They gotta be over, and which I don't mind none of that. I don't want to, but when I was young and when you were young, you had to lock in and really admire these guys that was older than you, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I can't wait to do that, And it's just so much a different hunger from back that time.
Oh, yeah.
This is time where people really getting hit. The helmets are way harder than they was. People don't really think about that, but that's a big difference from then until now. Now the kids swear that they gotta, I do a lot of basketball stuff, and they swear that they gotta go to these basketball gyms 6 days a week, and I'm like, that's cool. But if there's not something you're doing outside of that, I don't know how you gonna make it. You know what I mean?
Anything you do, you got to work hard at it. And I got a son who's 10 years old, and I'm trying to install that mentality of how I was raised into him.
Right.
I don't force him to do anything.
Right.
Just because I don't want him to go the other way. No one forced me to do anything. I did it on my own.
Right.
I wanted to be great. I wanted to prove people wrong. And you have to give these kids that opportunity to do that.
Right.
So, I didn't have anybody to work with me and snapping. I didn't have anybody that worked with me on hitting. And I'm sitting there going, well, you go to this guy 3 times a week for batting practice?
Right.
I'm like, dude, we used the uniform bat that had athletic tape as a handle.
Right.
When I was a kid, I was in Dixon, remind 25 years removed from baseball.
Right.
And my son starts playing, and I'm in there going, what in the world is a drop 10? What is that? I don't. Can you give me a bat for a freaking 7-year-old, please?
Please.
I don't know any of that stuff. So, it's become marketed,
Right.
and I think there's a room for specialized training
For sure.
but I don't think that these young kids who are 7, 8, 9 years old is going to, 3 times a week to a speed coach or something like that, because they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And they don't know why they're doing it.
Exactly. That's so important, Chris. They don't know the why. They just doing it,
They're just doing it, and the parents are taking them, thinking, but they don't know what they're doing.
No.
They don't know why they're doing it. And so to me, it's almost like they're wasting their money.
Yeah.
And I've worked with young kids before,
Mm-hmm.
and I've worked with 12-year-olds and some guys younger than that.
Right.
And basically I work on balance. I work on hand-eye coordination and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when you get to 11, 12 years old, you can kind of talk training-wise and hoping they get it. Because I always try to explain to them, okay, we're doing this because in a game situation, I try to explain to them in game situations.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't get it, and if they go and they ain't giving me 100%, I'll tell their mom,
Yeah.
Dad, take him home. Don't bring him back.
Exactly.
You're wasting your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need it that bad.
Nah. Not at all.
I'm here to help the kids. I did that for a couple years when I first got done. I recently just joined the Winfield High School coaching staff back in 22. Eddie Smolder, I mentioned his name earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Him and I played together at Marshall. He's the head coach, and he called me up and asked me if I'd help him, and I don't know what it was,
Yeah.
but I said yeah.
Yeah.
Winfield, that area, they got great kids, great education, great school systems. The football program's just been terrible for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
It's not the kids' fault.
No.
I've seen, it all depends on, the culture and how you're bringing it. So, we go from 5-5. I think they were 5-5 and 21, or 4-6, something like that, to 9-1.
Right.
With the same kids.
Yeah.
All because we're changing the culture.
Yeah.
You know, how many high school kids that play football or sport are going to be at the weight room at 6 a.m.?
Yeah.
How many of them are going to do it?
Right. Literally. Yeah.
We're averaging 66 kids at 6 a.m. 4 days a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, you know, they love it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's a culture thing. And, you know, why people don't want to be a part of that. Now, I never was a big proponent on kids transferring just because.
Yeah.
But to be in it and see the lack of opportunities that kids get at certain, you know, certain schools and certain areas, and the lack of coaching that they get,
Right.
you'd almost have to if you want an opportunity to play college football.
Right.
But you know, we're trying to do it the right way, and you know, expect a lot out of the kids, and you know, kind of bring a little bit of an old school mentality to it, and the way that I was coached, and the way that I approached the game, and you know, we want to be successful as a football team, but we want these kids to be successful off the field, socially and society, and we're preparing to be good football players, but we're preparing them to be better men.
Right.
You know, that's the key.
Yeah, that's the end game. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So I'll go here with it. And now you talked about that senior year when you're like, you know, or not even the senior year, the 98, and then would you get drafted 99?
and I got drafted in 01.
01. Okay, so 98 was just the start. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, talk about going in, and when they tell you now, you know, you're just a long snapper. What was your first primary position? Was you like a linebacker?
I was a middle linebacker.
Yeah, you already know. I know for us, I could tell by the body type. Either that or you was in the backfield doing something. Because a lot of these programs around here, they'll run things like the wing tee and stuff. You know, outdated stuff, but it works with bigger backs and all that. But anyway, I'll say this: what helped you be like, man, if I ain't nothing but a long snapper, it's still an honor. What helped you? Because everybody's not that mature in the moment. Mm-hmm. Everybody's not that appreciative. You had to be appreciative to go out there and execute at a high level. You know what I mean? You can't be out here like, damn, man, I wish they would just put me at the, you know, at my position. You know, you gotta kind of man up and say, man, whatever they give me, I'm gonna take it. You know.
Well, you know, you got to be the ultimate team player.
Yeah.
You know, when I made that decision to switch over to be a long snapper, I knew that my days of playing linebacker were over.
Yeah.
So it took me a while to get Coach Pruitt convinced to let me play other special teams.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but like I graduated early. I graduated, you know, a year early, and I went to Coach, and I was like, Coach, man, I think I'm going to graduate and go on and start my life. And he was like, you know, he said, I don't want you to do that. He said, you got another year eligibility. I've had some scouts and some teams call about you.
Yeah.
I want you to stay and work on your master's degree, and who knows, you might get invited to a camp.
Yeah.
And that's the first time anybody ever say anything about, you know, playing in the National Football League. And I was like, dang. I mean, just to be getting invited to the camp would be a huge honor.
Yeah, for sure.
So he says, you know, I want you to stay. I'm going to make you a team captain, and you know, I think you'll you know, you'll be very successful, and who knows, you might be able to, you know, get invited to a camp. So I did.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I stuck around for another year. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I worked on my master's degree, and so when I was done, I only had like 12 hours left. Mm-hmm. And I ended up finishing that like 4 or 5 years into my NFL career. I went back to school and finished my master's while I was playing.
Man, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, man.
Just to make sure I had that, you know, background to follow.
You already know.
And, you know, so I credit Coach with a lot of things. Mm-hmm. I don't credit him with recruiting me.
Yeah.
If he ever says he did, he's lying.
He said they ain't see it, but I kept working. I kept going, you know.
He'll take credit for it.
Right.
But Marshall gave me an opportunity. I mean, he did give me an opportunity. I took full advantage of it. They did give me a platform, and to realize my dream. And I can't be any more appreciative of them,
Right.
For the rest of my life.
Right. And I want to give the viewers kind of a visual into how good you were at long snapping. There's 7 rounds in the NFL draft. Usually most of your special teamers and long snappers, they're what you call undrafted free agents, meaning they was either slow getting off getting off to a good start in college, and now they're at the end and they're finally becoming promising, but nobody has the time to look at them. So when he comes and was a long snapper primarily and is drafted, he's a hell of a long snapper. Just to let you know, you had to be that deal at long snapping to get drafted.
Luckily I got coached. I talked him into let me play in kickoff and punt return. So just show the scouts and teams that I was
a special teamer. Yeah,
that I was a teams guy.
Yeah.
And I was athletic, and most people who watch football can pick out the long snapper.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, they're probably one of the most unathletic guys running down the field,
Right.
and I hated that stigmatism. Because I wasn't that. If you watch any of my games and you see any of the tackles on teams, you'll see me either on the tackle, assisting with the tackle, or jumping over the pile.
Yeah.
So I was very, very physical when I played.
Right.
Even at that position.
Right.
Because in those days, you don't have to do it in college now, but when I played, you had a snap, you had a block, and then you had to, shed and get downfield and make a tackle. Well, now the spread punt's in, and the centers, they don't have to do any of that. But they still got to do it when they play. So, coming out of college, I was really athletic. I was 4.7 in a 40,
Yeah.
4.2 in a 20-yard shuttle, 32-inch vertical, 38 bench reps.
Yeah.
I had,
and that 4.7, even if you was a linebacker at that time, he was hauling for a linebacker. You know what I mean? They just now get to running these 4.4s and all that crazy stuff.
So I had, I had the hang clean record for centers, and I wasn't a center. I was a long snapper.
Right.
So they put me in with the offensive lineman category.
Yeah.
So I had the bench record and had a hang clean record. A bench record, I think they got tired of seeing a long snapper up there, so they finally just took it down.
Right. Yeah.
So I had both of those records for at least a decade.
Wow.
While I was still playing, and so when I got the call, I knew I'd be a day 2 guy. Really, probably maybe an undrafted free agent.
Right.
But I had Minnesota, Baltimore, Washington, New York. Those were the 4 teams that were calling me during day 2 of the draft saying, hey, we're planning on taking you,
Right.
as an undrafted free agent, blah, blah, blah. And St. Louis's special teams coach actually came and worked me out personally at Marshall.
Yeah.
And they had their guy who was a tight end / snapper signed a 4-year deal with Dallas, so they didn't have anybody, and so they decided to go ahead and draft me, so they didn't get in that bidding war with the other clubs,
Right.
and so it was just to see your name come across the TV, and I get a phone call from Coach Marsh was just it was just surreal, especially from where I come from and what I had to go through to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir. Okay, and I wanted to ask this because it's easy as heck when we're sitting there Sunday watching these games and you see a bad snap, a snap get bobbled, or a kicker just, all the way blow a field goal. Or even if you see a punter get a bad snap and blow a field goal. And one of the first things people say is, you had one damn job. You know what I mean? And it's like, man, I know that. But there's pressure. Can you tell me, because, and we were talking about earlier, actually, you only really have maybe 1 or 2 bloopers, in the career. But was there that pressure because you and not to be remiss, when you're a special teamer, you're a real life specialist. This means you know how to do something over and over and over again. This is not like there almost is no room for failure in special teams. A wide receiver can drop a ball, running back may be able to fumble, but when a special teamer does, any type of false steps, it creates a hell of a field position advantage most times. And then not only that, the momentum switches so bad on these special teams turnovers. So could you talk about maybe how did you handle it every time when you're getting in your stance and ready to blow?
Yeah, man. I mean, when you're a kicker, when you're a punter, when you're a snapper, you got, like you said, you got one job.
Yeah.
And, there's average between 60 and 80 plays during the game, and you might accumulate anywhere from 6 to 12 plays. That's it.
Yeah.
And you got to be accountable, and you have to do your job, and you got to be perfect.
Yeah.
So I always felt like, the way I grew up, the way I was always hard on myself, it's driving me to work that much harder to perfect my craft.
Yeah.
So a lot of people talk about this, that, and the other, and to me, preparation prevents poor performance. And so when a lot of people, it come natural to them.
Yeah.
A lot of people can throw one or two balls back there, and they be comfortable. Me, I was snapping till dark until I felt like I was good.
Exactly.
And I would probably snap 2 to 3 balls to somebody else's one.
Yeah.
That was comfortable doing it.
Right.
And those repetitions over and over and over and over and over.
Right.
I mean, people don't realize. I mean, hell, you'd get a minus if the punter had to take a half a step over to catch the ball, or if the laces was back, you'd have to get a minus.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the year, we'd always get our grades. And I think my lowest I graded out on field goal snaps, which would be laces, was 97%.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I was, pretty much 9 out of 10 field goal snaps was going to be perfect to set the ball down and kick it.
Right.
I'd only have like 1 or 2 that would be laces back.
Right.
And it's just, that time you spend with those guys working on your craft, working on the timing, and that's why I was the best in the business.
Exactly. This is snap count. Snap. So I'll say, talk about how when you're teaching maybe your son nowadays, and he might think like, man, he is going crazy over this one part, but it's even. I believe you have a better vantage point to coaching, because your job, there is no my bad, coach, or I got it wrong. They're gonna be like, man, if you don't, man, get his locker cleaned out. What is he talking about? It's bad. We paying dudes millions of dollars out here, and it's bad. What do you have to say to the young people, or maybe whatever? Like I say, what do you say to your son when sometimes they think it's, well, that's okay. It's just a little bit off. It wasn't even that. You know what I mean?
It's not okay,
right?
Because when the lights are off, and you're out in the real world, okay doesn't get it.
Right.
You can't go 60% and want to be successful in life.
That's not realistic.
You either pedal to the floor all the way,
Yeah.
And to strive to be the best you can be. And I'm talking to my son, whatever you want to do, dude, you want to strive for greatness.
Right.
And this is how you strive for greatness.
Yeah.
You want to play the closest perfect as you possibly can, realizing that nobody's perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I've always took that with me.
Yeah.
There's only been one perfect person in this entire universe, and
I already know.
And that's Lord and Savior.
Yes,
so,
sir.
We all make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell young kids, it's okay to make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't make the same one twice.
Please, yeah. Let's learn from them every time.
And if you want to work at something and you want to be good at something, you need to put the controller down and get out there and get on it. I'm not going to grab your hand.
Put that controller down first.
I'm not going to grab your hand and drag you outside.
Right.
You have to want it.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to drag my son out when he was younger, and he'd go kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't get nothing out of it.
Right.
Now I was like, I need to step back a little bit.
Yeah.
And now that he's getting a little older and he's asking me a lot of questions and he's starting to understand more, on all 3 sports, Football is his favorite. We're into baseball season now, and he's struggling at the plate.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep telling him, baseball will humble you.
Right.
If your technique's bad, the only way you can do it is go back to the basics and get on the tee. Mm-hmm. And, soft toss, get on the tee, work on, your mechanics. And, if you want to strike out, right. I said, I'm going to keep coming to the games. I'm going to keep watching you strike out.
Right.
But if you get tired of striking out and you want to work,
yeah,
holler at me.
Hey, come see me. Come see me. Yeah.
So, we've been every other day we take batting practice because he does not want that.
All right.
I tell him it's okay. I said, but as long as you don't want it and you go work for it, right. You can live with it if you're not successful.
Exactly.
Because you worked.
Right. Did everything you could. Yeah.
But if you don't, you won't be able to live with yourself. You'll have regrets. Yeah. You don't want to go through life having regrets. No. And I don't care if you're 5 years old. I don't care if you're 10 years old. I don't care if you're 30 years old. Yeah. You don't want to go through life having regrets.
Never that. Yeah.
No. But, I would say that I was a perfectionist when I played.
Yeah.
Every first down, I would snap 3 balls
right.
on every first down during the game.
Mm-hmm.
Once they reached the opposite 40-yard line, I would start warming up with field goals.
Yeah.
I would snap hundreds and hundreds of balls on Sundays.
Yeah.
Just to feel comfortable going into the game.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
some of it when you're snapping 15 yards, you got like a full-grown man who's 6'4", 320 pounds, a second string or third string defensive tackle. That ain't fun.
No. Them guys full of energy too. They ain't been doing that.
So
full of energy.
So I had to be perfect on my steps.
Right.
I had to be perfect on my technique to be successful, because not only was I playing for, myself and my dream, I have a name on the back of my jersey that my dad gave me. Mm-hmm. I was playing for my family. I was playing for my community. I was playing for East Bank High School. I was playing for the state of West Virginia because there wasn't that many West Virginia boys in the league.
Yeah.
So I felt all that, and every Sunday I played with that.
Oh.
And I played with a chip on my shoulder for 10 years.
Yeah.
And, I didn't care if I was blocking you or if I was chipping you off the guard, you were going to feel it.
Right.
And, I was different. I kind of broke the mold because all the snappers before that, in the 80s and 90s, they were backup offensive linemen.
Right.
They were big guys.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't cover, wasn't athletic. And here I am, 5'11", athletic,
right.
Covering kicks and this, that, and the other. And, so when I got drafted, Coach Marsh goes, hey, I saw where you played fullback in high school. And I said, yeah. He said, well, I'm going to put you a fullback. The more you can do. And I was like, sure, all right.
Yeah.
So it was funny, though, because, all spring and all training camp, I went through all the offensive meetings and individual. But as soon as the individual was over with, I'd go over with the special teams coach and the kicker, and we'd, kick and work. And, I would come back and run the scout team and stuff like that. But never in a million years where I thought I'd ever play.
Right.
So we're working game 4. We had James the Hammer Hodgins. He had a broke foot. And so we had so I was the number 2 guy.
Mm.
And third quarter goes down, and he tweaks his hammy.
Mm.
And it's like first down. I'm over warming up.
Yeah.
Coach March is screaming at me. And I'm like, what in the world is he screaming at me for? It's
right.
freaking first down. It ain't third down alert.
Right. Yeah.
So he said, get your ass in there. And I'm like, it's first down. So I run out there. I'm in a huddle, and I'm looking around. I got Kurt Warner and Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Marshall Falk, all these Hall of Famers. I'm sitting there going, we're playing the Raiders.
Yeah.
And Marshall goes, all right, Massey, let's ride.
Yeah.
And as soon as he said that, I'll never forget. I write 80 BM. I'm cutting him man on line of scrimmage. Like, well, shit, I know what to do. I got this.
Yeah.
And they shifted down in the over front, and Romanowski was the in man on line of scrimmage. So I kicked him out, and Marshall went up, and so I finished the game out. And then the following week, I started as a fullback.
Wow.
And Marshall had 33 carries, 188 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I graded out at 97%. I never took a rep in practice.
Right.
I took mental reps. I studied my playbook. I knew what to do.
Right.
And I took mental reps in practice, and I took advantage of another opportunity that came my way.
Right.
And ever since then, I earned more respect from my teammates because, most of them, he's a snapper, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I earned the respect of everybody on my team, everybody in administration, and everybody in ownership.
Yeah.
After that performance.
Right.
And from then on, I was Coach March's guy.
That's what's up.
I was his guy. And I ended up starting 2 or 3 games every year from, 03, 04, and 05.
Right.
Then March left and Linehan came in, and I was kind of delegated back over with the kickers. But he did want me to know the red zone and goal line package just in case. So I did do that.
Right.
But other than that, you never saw me in practice hanging over with the kickers,
Right.
fooling around. I was either over running scout team, over or in the weight room training, working out. I never was over,
Right.
fooling around with those guys. So,
Yeah, I imagine you had to be like deadly serious too, because for you to come in and play fullback, like when he just named them guys, that's not a light name drop. This was the what was that? The greatest show on turf.
yeah.
The greatest show on turf. There's NFL films about these people. Like, you guys got to really do your research. He could have went in there and just by nerves did anything squirrely. He did not have to do his job just because it's culture shock. Like you said, he's over there doing what his due on first down. Coach said, get in there. It's about one of my favorite phrases ever, especially right now to these kids that's coming up and playing these little league football. I tell them all the time, especially, like I said, I coach at Nitro. We only 14 deep most years, you know what I mean? But we solid, I love all the kids. But I tell them, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Yeah. That's so important because people be sitting there, and when their chances come, they sitting there dumbfounded like, I didn't know I was supposed to be everything.
Hey, I coached my son's B team.
Yeah.
And I don't have patience for parents.
Yeah.
So I have a meeting. We have a meeting before the season starts, parent meeting.
Right.
And I tell them, and I said, I want every kid to play. Mm-hmm. This is a sport where it don't happen.
Right.
There's a lot that goes into football.
Yeah.
There's safety concerns. There's other player safety concerns. There's a lot of things that go into just playing. Like, if you want to see your son in a uniform on the field, I'll take a picture of him during pregame.
Exactly.
But if they don't know what to do, I can understand, maybe younger D and C or whatever. But you start getting up to the older kids, especially, the way the age groups is now, and you got some of these 6th graders that's playing down against 9-year-old young B teamers,
right?
And it's a safety issue. So I was like, look, if your son doesn't know what to do, can I play him?
Right.
And they'll go, no. I said, if you come to me and ask him about your son's playing time, I'll bring your son over. I'll ask him 3 questions. If he can't answer them, there's your answer.
Right. Right.
If he can answer all 3 of them, I'll apologize to you, and I'll tell you I'll do a better job by getting him in the game.
Right.
It's the only fair way to be.
Yeah.
Unless you're up by, big.
Exactly.
Everybody. But,
and yeah, like you said, a lot of these parents aren't wanting to understand, like you say, it's safety, and especially right now where this is one of a different state when it comes to that, because you got the B team that's going 3 years, like it's got 4th, 5th, and some 6th, just as long as your birthday's right there. So, and like I always tell my stepson, because he's always the littlest on the team, but we train so hard so that you can go up. You know what I mean? You can play wherever you want to play, because what happens is this year I could have probably kept him in Nitro, but I said I don't think that's because he's really fast. So it's like I don't think that you're going to gain anything from trying to run, scoring 5 or 6 touchdowns a game. You did pretty good the first year, the second year. Now let's move on, because I see how it could become like, just a landslide at this point, because you are going to be bigger and you're going to be I want him to go on. But talk about sometimes I be feeling bad when I'm talking out loud at these football practices, because these people don't understand how far our game is behind here. in football. They don't understand that it is so. I can't believe, Chris, that we hardly got any linemen coming out. Thank God for Darnell Washington. I think his name is right.
Darnell Wright.
Right. I'm sorry, I said Washington. Right, Darnell Wright. Big shouts out to him getting drafted number 10 overall to Chicago Bears. That's not enough. There's not enough of him coming out of West Virginia. As many big, country kids as we got, and we only sending 1 or 2 to the draft every year. You know what I mean? I'm like, these kids could be demolishing people. Because I'm from Ohio, and we built them all up there. But even these linemen, they have such unique size down here, and you got these kids that never even thought about playing football. You know what I mean?
Yeah, getting them out's one thing. I mean, we lost 4 starters at the high school last year. And we got 1 starter returning, and I think our biggest offensive lineman last year was 217 pounds.
Wow.
And I can, any given day, I can be in high school and walk around the high school and see kids that are 6'3", 260, 6'4", 6'5", and just
exactly
not playing,
chilling.
They just, I mean, I don't know what it is. Whether it's just plain out being soft.
Yeah.
I mean, this sport ain't for everybody.
It ain't.
And a lot of it has to do with the way they're raised. Mm-hmm. I mean, if they're babied, I don't baby nobody.
Right.
I don't baby them 10-year-olds.
Right.
I'm teaching 10-year-olds. I mean, I give them every opportunity, but I treat them just like I treat the high school kids.
Got to. Yeah.
Yeah. Do I have empathy for them? No.
No. Right. No. You can't.
There ain't no crying in football.
No. And people can get hurt. They don't understand when you're that mad coach or you're screaming this kid out because you about killed yourself, son. Yeah. What are you doing out here? You let that man run into you full speed. You're standing straight up, a whole midsection exposed, or you done ducked your head so far, you're looking at dandelions. Yeah. You know what I mean?
My biggest thing as coach, and I stress to my coaches, is, when we're coaching the kids, let's be respectful. Mm-hmm. Let's build them up. Let's not tear them down.
Right.
So you can kind of get your point across in a positive way. Hopefully, I haven't had. We've had a great group of parents the last 2 years I've coached. Yeah. I tell them all the time. If you have a problem, during a game or something like that, please give me 24 hours before you approach me.
Please.
Because if you don't give me 24 hours, you're not going to like me.
Right, exactly.
You're not going to want to see that.
Exactly. Yeah. To talk about that, you got to be politically correct in today's now, because everybody like, hold on, you yelled at my son like that. Lady, if you was around in the early 2000s or any of these coaches, you know how many coaches, man, I don't even...
Yeah, there's definitely a fine line between now and when I came up playing,
right?
Because you never know, who's going to go back and say something or, hey, try to get you in trouble or anything like that. So we really try to be respectful, and I wouldn't want to say something to a kid that I wouldn't want another coach saying to mine.
Right.
So that's kind of how I operate.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so we'll get on because we would talk forever. But okay, so this was a good question I wanted to throw out there to you, because like I say, that era was it's so iconic. You got your Ray Lewis's, your Brian Urlachers. There's so many huge. Everybody is real playing size. Now we've gotten to a lighter and a thinner game. You know what I mean? And it's more they're drug testing more now than ever. Tell me what it was like at the height of that, the performance enhancing drugs era, like that early era where they was testing for it, but they knew that people needed it for the entertainment purposes, or even just because sometimes, especially when you're that 56 guy on the team and you're right there on the bubble trying to get to that 53, dog. You got to do what it is to take care of your family. You know what I mean? I mean, it sounds bad in the moment, but it's like, man, if I was going on my bum leg like it was, there was no way I was going to make it that day. You know what I mean? So talk about that, the performance enhancing drugs and what you think that,
Well, when I was playing, it was right around time. It was the really big, nutritional supplements. Mm-hmm. The whole steroid thing or anything like that. I didn't, I never saw any of my teammates do it. Never saw none of my teammates talked about it or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
We were under the micro. I mean, we got drug tested every week during the season.
Yeah.
What's crazy is you get drug tested every week for nutritional supplements, but you only got drug tested once a year for drugs of abuse.
Wow. That is weird.
And that test was in June, and you always knew when that was happening.
Yeah.
So you take that test, and you're clean.
Yeah.
You don't test for that.
Yeah.
The rest of the year.
Yeah.
Or else there wouldn't have been a league.
Right.
So, but ours was right around the nutritional boom.
Yeah.
With the pre-workouts and the ephedrine and all that kind of gave you a boost, and this, that, and the other, and of course towards the end of my career it was the growth hormone.
Right.
Controversy was the GH. So I was a big supplement guy, but anytime I took something, I mean, there's always a chance that you'd get popped, just because they mixed things and so I would call the NFL PA, and they would say, "No, you're good, but you take that on your own risk. You don't know what funnels that could have been right after another supplement they made. You never know." So I just kind of stayed away from that stuff. And at that point in time, we had a contract with EAS that supplied all the so everything that they took was pretty much you're safe.
Right.
So I just ended up taking that.
Yeah.
And the whole growth hormone thing, I mean, that's kind of hard to say because I don't know if it does it, but I always heard that it helps repair tissue and this, that, and the other, and I never could understand if it would help you recover from an injury faster.
Right.
Why wouldn't that be like? Why couldn't you do that under doctor supervision? Yeah. But anyways, it's just one of those things.
Nothing major to y'all.
You couldn't test for it.
Okay.
I mean, you can't test for, the only way you can test for it is doing a blood test.
Okay.
But, an athlete's GH level is naturally higher than
regular human.
Yeah. So that's the whole argument back in the CBA in 2011, 2012, when they wanted to do the blood test for GH, that was the whole argument. Like, well that's unfair because, then still to this day they can't test for it.
Yeah. And to follow up on that, what was your take on the painkillers part of it? Not the, just what dudes had to do to just keep going sometimes. We seen Patrick Mahomes in his last playoff game, his leg is almost dangling off, you know what I mean? He had to tape that thing up, take him a little, whatever, not in a bad way, but that's just what these players are having to do. If you want to see them play at the highest level, you go get hit by a 300-pound grown man who has the great speed, he falls on your ankle and you see, to people who think it's something bad or you know what I mean?
Well, it's not the National Basketball Association.
Yeah, exactly.
Football players, in order to win the game, we'll do whatever.
Do whatever, man.
You know what I mean? I tore my knee. Somebody asked me what I do. I would do it all over again. I'd tear my other knee to play another play.
Exactly.
One play.
Wow. Yeah.
I'd give the other knee.
Yeah.
So, towards the end of my career, I mean, there was times that, I would take pain injections.
Yeah.
I would take medication at halftime.
Yeah.
And I'd have to have medication after the game.
Yeah.
And I was on anti-inflammatories pretty much every day.
Yeah.
For the last 2 years of my career.
Yeah.
Just to play. And, I'm not ashamed to talk about it.
Nah, you ain't got to be. Shoot, that paid for your family man.
You do whatever you got to do to take care of your family and play as long as you can.
Yeah.
You don't think about it when you're young.
Right.
They don't tell you, hey, man, if you take anti-inflammatories for an extended period of time, it really can do, some kidney damage. They don't tell you that.
Nah.
Nobody told me that.
Right.
So, as I'm older now, I look at that like, am I going to have to deal with that later in life?
Right.
I mean, and then I go, well, I'm sure there's some people out there who's done 10 times worse things than that.
Yeah, you already know.
So,
you already know.
I mean, my last year in St. Louis, when I tore my knee in 2009, I came back in 2010. I was on anti-inflammatories every day. I was, I took a pain shot, Toradol shot on Sundays. I would take an Ultram at halftime, and I would take a Vicodin after the game.
Yeah. Now, talk about were they ever, because this is the part I wanted of it, do you think sometimes that they ever maybe force that on players? There's been players that's like, I'm cool, I'll wait my time, and they forced it on them, and you think that might have had a bad effect going forward, because everybody's not just like Chris and can, take it as needed and just, go on about their day after they're done. You know what I mean? Some people get caught in that,
No, everything was pretty much relegated to the doctor.
Yeah.
The doctors, they reported, and the training staff reported to coaches and administration, on a daily basis before practice. And they did take care of the players.
Yeah.
I mean, there was nothing. It wasn't like, the 80s or anything like that.
Right.
I mean,
Lawrence Taylor's in the world.
There was nothing like that.
Right.
And when they would keep count, of what they gave you and how much and this, that, and the other. And they'd be like, look, man, I just gave you one of these like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it to you.
Yeah.
So, when I got released in 11 in training camp, I was banged up anyway. I mean, knees still bothering me. I had tendonitis in both elbows, nerve damage in my left elbow. I couldn't feel anything in my fingers. My Achilles was hanging by a thread.
Right.
And so when I got released, and I got picked up, I worked out for the Patriots. I worked out for the Giants, but I ended up getting picked up by the Bears and finished out the second half of the season. I never asked them for a freaking Tylenol.
Yeah.
I just didn't want them to see me
Yeah.
in the training room ever.
Exactly.
Go in there and get taped. That's it. I never got treatment.
Yeah.
I did all my treatment at the hotel room.
Yeah. Now, is it like the Rams is my family? Y'all just like a uncle house I'm at. Like I ain't about to just let it all down, or you know what I mean? Or was it just like I'm all the way to the end almost? I'm just going, you know what I mean? Or was it strictly like I don't know you people like that to be,
Yeah. No, it was. I just didn't want them to see me in the training room. I didn't want them to. I didn't want to show any weakness.
Exactly.
I didn't want them to give them an opportunity to bring another guy in.
Right. That's what speak about that, man, because when these young dudes don't realize there's so many people willing to take your job, and when you get to the NFL, it's just a matter of one snap for a snapper, one bad catch for a wide receiver. They don't realize that just because you've been drafted, just because you've been paid, anybody can be dropped at any time. This is a really what have you done for me lately? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I won the job and I was the best guy out there doing it. But if they would have knew, what I was dealing with, they would have been like, man, he's a liability.
Yeah.
If he gets hurt, if he goes down, we're going to have to guarantee his there's a lot of stuff that goes into it other than just wanting to play.
Exactly.
So you got to really think from a business standpoint.
Exactly.
As you get older in this game, you got to really approach it as a business.
Yeah.
My first couple of years, man, I was just playing football.
Yeah.
I didn't care if they paid me or not.
Exactly.
And then
exactly.
Later on, you got to approach it as a business because it's your job.
Yeah. And talk about, is that heartbreaking when you got to say, this game I love for my whole life, like I'm going to go out there and play it to the highest of my ability, but now it's who got the money? Who gonna pay me? Who want Chris Massey to really come and snap for them? I do what I do, but can you pay me like I weigh?
Yeah, man, that was that might have got me in a little bit of trouble in St. Louis because when my contract was up, I tore my knee in my contract year.
Yeah,
and I was scheduled to, when I hit free agency, I was going to be the highest paid long snapper in the history of the game, and I tore my knee, and so I was crushed.
Yeah.
But I had a really good agent. He's here in Charleston, Tim DePiro.
Okay.
He worked with Randy and Darian Scott and a lot of the guys. So, but anyways, with a torn knee, I was paid in the top 3 average.
Wow.
Or the top 3.
Yeah.
So for 2010, I was the highest paid snapper in the league.
Yeah.
So that means you're the best.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, I had to really, really buckle down on my rehab. My rehab didn't go well. I had some setbacks. I didn't start running until the third week of June.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, miraculously, I was cleared to start training camp.
Yeah.
That's just because they were hoping to get me on film, practicing, and they can release me without paying me for an injury settlement.
Wow. That's the business of it for y'all.
Couldn't go left, couldn't go right, side to side, struggled. Snapping was good, didn't have a problem on that, didn't have a problem blocking.
Right.
Ran good enough to run in the pack.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh. And we only got a few more minutes, but before you get out of here, I also wanted to ask, without throwing your numbers out or anything, can you give the viewers an insight on what just the special teams players be making, like from the kickers to the long snappers to the holders, punters,
Well, like I said, it all depends. Every year, your salary goes up. Most long snappers are minimum guys. Most young kickers are minimum guys. Now, Justin Tucker's probably making $5 or $6 million a year.
That guy's getting paid, yeah.
I mean, Jeff Wilkins, when I played, he was making $4 million a year. I think was his last contract.
Right.
I mean, I was a minimum guy. In 2002, my rookie contract was $225.
Look at how he just what $225.
My last year in St. Louis in 2010, I made 1.1 as a snapper.
That's just 1 year, guys. Please go out and perfect these crafts, please.
And pay your taxes.
Pay your taxes for sure.
Take half of it.
Yeah. And like I say, these guys, they don't realize that there's places for everybody on the team. LeBron had a great quote about that just not too long ago. I was watching like a little reel. But LeBron said, if you don't want to be held accountable or be on the team, go play damn tennis or golf or something. You hear what I'm saying? He said, but if you're going to be on this team, you got to do what you got to do. Everybody's not the star. Everybody's not Bron.
Yep.
But if you're going to be on the team and you got to take some of that pride out of it and do what it calls for. You know what I mean? But like I tell these people, you get paid too. They think people are in the NFL, and for some reason, if you're not playing the most glamorous position, if you're not a wide receiver or something, no, man, go take care of your family real quick. Set yourself up for the future. If nothing else, even if you don't got no family, set yourself up for the future. You got so much freedom to do what you want right now. You know what I mean? You come here and you're a bright, clear-minded NFL vet, man. Definitely honored. But a lot of people don't get to, because there's a lot of Jamarcus Russells of the world. There's some people who totally just threw that money away. Mm-hmm. But even when you're just a long snapper, if you do it the right way, man, you live. You live well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I tell people all the time, I got a good head start in life.
Yeah. Exactly.
Did I make starting quarterback money? No.
Yeah.
Did I got a head start? Yes.
All right.
I got a wife.
Yeah.
She likes expensive things.
Yeah.
I got 3 kids. I got 2 daughters. So I'm sitting there going, that's 2 weddings, and 3 colleges.
Exactly.
So
right.
I mean, it goes fast. So when I come out, if I was a starting quarterback, I could sit around and go fishing and all that kind of stuff and not really have to worry about it. But
right.
As soon as I realized that my days was over with, I started thinking, and I went right to work. As soon as I found my papers, I was working the next day.
Yeah.
Trying to find out what I was going to do next.
Yeah.
And I worked a couple jobs, didn't like them. Ran into Mr. Reynolds, who was he was a booster at Marshall. I knew back when I played, and he gave me an opportunity to come and sell for him, and I've been working for him for 6 years now.
Yes,
and
sir.
My wife says, you just really don't have the personality to be a salesman. And I said, oh, okay.
All right.
Well, I'm the top in the company.
Right.
So
thank you, but no thank you, sweetheart.
you take what you learn in football and sports and stuff like that, and you apply it to your everyday life. So that drive that made me want to be the best also was the drive that made me want to be the best salesman in the company. Mm-hmm. So I do that. I want to be the best coach. Yeah. So this job allows me to coach high school football. So I work full time. I coach high school football. I coach my son's team.
Yeah.
I do motivational speaking. Mm-hmm. I help my buddy that he does a hunting show. I help him over here on the side. So I got my hands in 7-8 different things. A couple other different business adventures. Yeah. It doesn't stop.
It don't.
You don't just get complacent in life. You want to I want to strive for greatness in my athletic career. I want to strive for greatness in my, personal life.
Yeah.
So
and you brought that up, You said your wife, and you said I remember you saying earlier that you met her at Marshall. Talk about how important that was, having her through that. Through the playing career and through after, because a lot of these young dudes, don't get me wrong, I know we're in a different time and era, but there is something to be said. You know how much trouble you probably avoided, because they don't realize even for the long snapper on the team, as long as he had that Rams jersey on, that Bears jersey, somebody's willing to, figure out what Chris Massey's about. You know what I mean? It's not like he just, you're a nobody. No, you got that jersey on. So that's enough for most females in the world.
Well, that was a plus.
Yeah.
Honestly, if we wasn't together, I wouldn't have played as long as I have.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm from Eastern Kanawha County. I'm a good old redneck country boy.
Yeah.
I guarantee you I'd have got in some type of trouble,
Exactly, yes, sir.
Getting on that juice.
All right.
But, having responsibilities, and, I found that I'd rather spend more time with her than going out with the fellas.
Right.
So it did keep me humbled, did keep me, out of trouble there, and when I would come back home.
Yeah.
So, the clubs, and they do a really good job of, bringing situations to stay away from.
Yeah.
Some guys just ain't smart enough to stay away from.
Exactly.
I mean, how can you not just have they should give us a little card and have a phone number on there. You call that number and they would come and get you and take you home.
Yeah.
How hard is that?
Yeah.
Bless
their heart, because man, I just seen Henry Ruggs getting charged, and he looking at anywhere from 2 to 10, I think they say, and that's a blessing, because you really could be doing life. You took a life, you know what I mean? Yeah. I hate that these young boys, they won't get them a girl. LL Cool J, famous rapper, he said one time, so a rapper asked him, why you always got your wife with you at the shows? Why would you do that? Mm-hmm. He said, man, because I ain't never been in one second of trouble when she's right here with me. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. I've never gotten in trouble while she's right here. So it's stuff like that, man, that if people don't know, that's why I asked you that, because people don't see that goes in. People don't see that you got a woman pushing you up. They say that behind every great man is a greater woman. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But that is so true. And this is the last one. I'm gonna get you out of here. But how are you taking care of yourself, and physically and mentally, with this era being the CTE, and now all that stuff is starting to come in, and people are looking down, and it also segue that into, because like you said, it's getting so soft, man. I can't believe people sit up and like, man, I don't want him playing, his head gonna get hurt. And I'm like, that's true, but that's almost the joy in it. I promise you, when you really love football, the contact, sometimes getting up and your head helmet sideways, sometimes them is the moments, man.
Well, knowing what I know now, would I still play the game? Yeah.
Yeah.
I found out when I retired that the helmet I wore for 10 years was the worst rated helmet for CTE.
Wow, yeah.
Then I go, them guys back in the 20s wore leather helmets.
Right.
Army
battle caps. Yeah.
Somebody give me like a percentage, I'm a numbers guy. If I'm like, okay, here's a 3% chance you're going to develop this or that and the other. What's the chances of you going to get in a car wreck or, getting hurt doing something else? But it's something that you worry about. Mm-hmm. My son, I don't worry about. He loves contact.
Yeah.
He's a big kid. He loves contact, right. And he'll lower his shoulder, and he doesn't shy away from it. Yeah. Am I worried about him? No.
Right. Yeah.
Because I know that if he gets out of this sport what I got out of it, he's going to be a great man.
Yeah.
And he's going to be successful.
Yes, sir.
And then, you know, you just have to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, you can go out here and play soccer for 10 years and tear both knees,
Yeah.
you know, and have knee replacements when you're 45. I mean, there's risk in anything you do.
Yeah.
But is the reward worth it?
Yeah.
And if you can get your education paid for and you can meet your, you know, your soulmate and you can live your dream, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, so it's
Ah.
you gotta take the good with the bad in any situation.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. The rain with the sun. Yeah.
But you know what I do to combat that, you know, because I'm different now than what I was when I was playing, or even before I started playing. You know, I'm not. You know, certain things bother me now than it used to.
Yeah.
Is it because of football? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody asked me how many concussions I've had. I'm like, well, what do you think is a concussion?
Right. Exactly.
Because when I was growing up, a concussion when you was asleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ain't nobody put me to sleep.
Yeah. Exactly.
But have I had my bell rung? Yeah. Have I had stars? Yeah. Have
Exactly.
I had spots? Yeah. Am I sensitive to light now? Yeah.
Exactly.
Do I have headaches?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh. But policemen and army men, they get to go out there and risk it for 60, 70,000 a year. That's what people don't realize when they down talk football. Man, everything is being, like I said, if you don't got a family, you're taken care of. If you got a family, they're taken care of.
Right.
Is there what is their retirement plan too? Is it pretty good? Are you pleased with after post care of the NFL?
Yeah.
They showing love. They loving on you, man.
They definitely take care of you. Know, as long as you're smart while you play.
Right.
You know, there's 3 different levels of retirement. You get your severance, you get your annuity, and you get your 401. Well, there's 4. You get your 401k, and you get your lifetime retirement.
Yeah.
And each one of those is set up at a specific time in your life.
Yeah.
And you have to get to those ages in order to get them.
Right.
So, like, you know, you get full health insurance for 5 years after you retire. You got to be vested, which is 4. You got to be at least play 4 years.
Okay.
And you got to be vested, so you get 5 years. So when that's over with, that's how they set it up. You can take your annuity 5 years after you're done. To, you know, if you're not working or anything like that, you can use that to pay for your health coverage. So they do a really good job. You know, your 401k, they match it 2 for 1.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're a young guy and you're not putting in a 401k, you're
something wrong with you. Yeah.
Something wrong with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, just being smart about it. I mean, I train every day.
Yeah.
I'm a regiment guy. I mean, football, you know, is regimented. It teaches discipline. I'm up at 5:30 every day. Train hour and a half.
Yeah.
And take the kids to school and go to work.
Yeah.
So Monday through Friday, I'm training, and you know, so it doesn't stop.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And so, like I said, this is definitely the last thing. When you were saying earlier, right now you're working, you'll tell the young kids work on hand-eye and balance. Is that maybe your two most traits that'll translate through the levels, through high school, college, and NFL? You work on those first, and maybe all the way through. They're great.
At that age, like when you're working with 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, and 9-year-olds, hand-eye coordination and balance.
Yeah.
Because the footwork will come.
Yeah.
If you don't have balance, you ain't gonna have good footwork.
Right. Exactly.
You know, you can always work on your footwork. You can always work on your change of direction, but you can't work on balance.
Right.
You know, you can work on it, but you got to start early.
Exactly.
To get it.
Exactly.
You know, that just helps you developmentally. You know, a lot of people push these kids to doing a lot of things too soon, too fast. Their muscles don't get, you know, recover enough.
Yeah.
You know, they don't fulfill enough at certain ages. So, you know, I mean, just for instance, you know, I had a buddy whose son got hurt really bad, like broken leg.
Wow.
A couple years ago. Okay, so he's developing, right? He's, I don't know, he's middle school, 13, 14 years old, right around where his muscles are growing, bones are growing. He's playing all year round.
Yeah.
He's playing, he's, you know, running track, he's wrestling, he's playing baseball.
Yeah.
Where's his downtime at?
Right.
Where's his time developing in the weight room?
Yeah.
I mean, did that have, you know, did that have something to do with it?
Yeah.
Who knows? But, you know, you got to let these kids develop.
Yeah.
If they want to work, that's fine.
Yeah.
Let's work at them at their age appropriate, what they're going to work at.
Yeah.
So, like, my son's 10. He said, Dad, when can I lift weights? I said, 13.
Right.
But he can, he can do the movements.
Right.
He can, I got him doing, we'll just take a broom or something like that, and we'll work on his form, his bench form or squat, or, balance.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 10 years old, he's 130 pounds, and he's doing sets of 10 on a BOSU.
Yeah.
Squatting on a BOSU, working on his balance.
Exactly.
So a lot of those functional type training you can do at an early age.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, hey, listen, guys. That's our time. Definitely want to thank you, Chris, man, for coming through, brother.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
This has been so informative and stuff. And like I say, I just wanted to give you guys, keep giving you guys valid people. People that not only have success, but they got a story to tell. Like you hear Chris say he's a motivational speaker. Where can they find you, Chris, on social media? Chris Massey.
Just search me on Facebook.
Yeah. Chris
Instagram.
Massey on Facebook. Chris Massey on Instagram. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure about your Twitter.
At CMassey45.
Okay. And man, just dudes like this can be pillars in the community if y'all let them be. His work ethic and his work speak for itself. You know what I mean? But I think that speaks volumes. You going over there in Winfield, and I'm not gonna say it was you, but are you a special teams coach over there? Mm-hmm. Everybody know the special teams coach is a spark. You know what I mean? It's no surprise that he gets involved and they go 5-5 to 9-1. Or that the little kids, like I said, I played this team in the little league, and them boys they're almost robotic. It's so disciplined. It's so sound. It's he's definitely building great things where he is. I encourage anybody that is around that program to just go give Chris a look and see how he's running things, and see if that's something that you might want your kid to be a part of in this transfer era. You never know who you get, but great dude, great interview. And I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And like I say, you always go catch the interviews at the Success Game podcast, the Success Game podcast. That's a YouTube channel. But we're going to get out of here. And like I say, thanks again, brother.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.